Hey everyone, this is Prince Fatalis. I'm very sorry for the delay, but I'm finally bringing you guys an instant while standing 3 tutorial for Leo. Before we begin, I do want to let you guys know that I'm using a DS4 controller, and while I use pad for movement, I use the left analog stick for Leo's instant while standing 3. I can't explain why, but it's really easy for me to land it using this method. What I find easy won't be simple for everyone, so I recommend you use a controller you are comfortable in utilizing. With that being said, jump into practice mode and turn on recovery animation and command history. First, we need to know when Leo is done recovering in order to correctly follow up with an instant while standing 3. You can easily spot the exact moment when Leo is done recovering after up forward 2-1 connects, if recovery animation is on. Keeping this option on throughout your practice is optional, but you have to remember by memory when Leo is done recovering. Once you've figured out when the recovery period ends, you can proceed to learning an instant while standing technique. Leo has two ways to learn instant while standing 3. You have down, down forward neutral. I like to call this the universal technique because it can be applied to every character. And then there's quarter circle forward, which I call the bad habit. Later on, I'll explain why I call it that and why it's crucial to also learn the universal technique, despite the fact that it's optional in this case. It's time to move on to practicing this technique in the open. Without performing it in combos, try your best to get the command history inputs to imitate the instant while standing technique to the best of your ability. Another option to help practice involves the controller setup setting. From there, you can select to check the button input option. This feature is really intended to make sure your buttons are working and are mapped out correctly, but you can still execute commands such as instant while standing 3. In contrast to command history, you actually have a neutral input here. This will be helpful to players who need a visual aid of what neutral looks like in action. The biggest downside to this feature is that you cannot use the screen simultaneously while playing the game, which means you'll have to rely on command history to imitate the instant while standing technique as clean as possible. When you're feeling comfortable with how well your inputs look, you're ready to practice in combos. You can start with either up forward 2-1 or back 1-2. It's imperative to know when and how to land instant while standing 3 for both of these in order to maximize damage and wall carry potential. Many of you are going to get discouraged that I'm landing this technique more than 5 times in a row. The reality is, if I've gone days without practice, my execution is going to be terrible. What you should be striving for is landing it more often than not landing it at all. The short-term goal should be to land instant while standing 3 at least 1 out of 10 times. The long-term goal should be at least 5 out of 10. Always warm up with this technique if you've gone several days without performing it. Previously, I had mentioned that the quarter circle forward technique is a bad habit. The reason behind that is because Leo does not have a quarter circle forward 3 command. For example, let's say you want to do an instant while standing 1 with Leo. You won't be able to use the quarter circle forward method in this case because Leo already has a quarter circle forward 1 command. You would have to input down, down forward neutral 1, otherwise Leo will simply do quarter circle forward 1. If the quarter circle forward technique works for you, in the case of instant while standing 3, there's nothing wrong in it. It's still important, however, that if you want to master instant while standing in general, you'll have to commit in learning the universal technique. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions or concerns, leave a comment below the video. Once again, this is Prince Fatalis. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. For now, this is goodbye, but not too long till next time.